I can't
Okay.
change your name. Too much involved.
Okay, that's all right. Right. Okay, with all set then, right?
Give me a few seconds. It's
Okay,
setting the
I will.
meeting
I'll
up.
give you a few seconds.
Okay, we are live.
Okay, I'd like to call to order the Human Resources and Public Works Committee meeting. And I'd like to ask the committee members to identify their physical location, please, at this time.
Terry Hutchison present, reporting from my home in Nottawa Township, Isabella County, Michigan.
Jim Marino present, reporting from my home in Mount Pleasant, Michigan, Isabella County.
Jim Horton, present, reporting from my home, Union Township, Mount Pleasant, Michigan, Isabella County.
Tobin Hope, present, reporting from my home in the city of Mount Pleasant, Isabella County.
Thank you. Okay, I'd like to call out to the public. Do we have any public participants, Michelle?
There is no public at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Then we'll go right to our first item and only item. Consider adopting the recommended application and escrow fees for special use permit and site plan review of a solar farm. For that, we'll go to our director, Timothy Newport. What do you got, Tim?
Good morning, everybody. So what I have in front of you today, and I apologize, I think my staff report may have an incorrect date and subject line. I apologize. I had two different ones here and I opened the wrong one, and I think I may have sent that off to Jessica. So this is basically the application, this is basically the request to establish a fee structure for solar farms. We do have a fee structure currently in place for wind energy. This is a very similar fee structure to that. As you see in my staff report, solar farms is defined within the county ordinance. We established the definition and regulations for solar farms back, I believe it was in mid to late 2017. The solar farm fee structure, I did work with our attorney that we're currently using, Mr. Fahey, for our wind project, just because of his knowledge and understanding and working with other communities and establishing solar farms and wind projects. We did establish it to be very similar, like I said, to the wind project. It's a three-part fee structure. The first part there is, and again, let me back up really quick. So this is very specific. I included the definition because I wanted to make sure it was clear that we're talking about a utility grid commercial type facilities. We're not talking about small scale solar, and that's defined all within the ordinance. You know, small scale solar is not part of the solar farm family per se or definition. Those smaller scale residential or small scale commercial are looked at in our ordinance as sort of accessory uses to an individual site as well. They're not really pushing commercial power energy back to and being sold back to the power companies. Unless they have a small surplus, then the company might purchase it back from them. But we're not talking about those. We're talking about the large scale utility commercial type facilities. So these are, again, back to the fee now. The fee is set up three parts. The first part is an application fee, and that's for the special use and the site plan review. That is proposed at $5,000 for the first 160 acres of the project area, plus $500 per fractional 40 acres beyond. The application fee is a non-refundable activity. When we say it's non-refundable, once we receive it and we begin work on it, it's non-refundable at that point. We have had applications in the past that come in, not necessarily for solar, but they come in before we even get a completed application or we look at it. We're not keeping the money. We're sending it back. If we haven't put no time into it, we're sending it back. But as soon as we start putting our time into it, then it's a non-refundable basis. The second part to the application is an escrow fee, which is established on a per project basis. And that is again, for the purpose and utilization of attorney fees, third-party fees, engineering fees, reporting, studies, projects, those kinds of things.
Like on the wind turbines, right?
Exactly. This is the exact language under B for the turbines.
I never got this report. Never received it.
You'd never received the my staff report?
Right.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so this is so the fee, the escrow fee under B is specifically for us to use that third party to incur other expenses at their cost, not at our cost. It is set up in a replenishing basis. So if we do run short, we kind of put an estimate together. If we do run short, then we notify them and they have to put more monies into the escrow to complete the review process of the project. The third and final portion of the fee is the escrow for violation review and compliance. This again is the exact language that was set up for the wind projects. And this is basically set up for us to, in case we incur costs over the life of the project, for enforcement of the ordinance. We may have attorney fees or court fees or those types of things. We put together an estimate based on the project, and we hold that money here in escrow with the county. At the end of the project, and they decommission the project, if we still have that money sitting there, we return that money to the owner operator at that time. Under C. Under B, when the project is completed, we're finalized, we're done with it, the review of it. If there's any money sitting in the escrow under B, we do the same. Within 60 days of completion of the project, we'll go ahead and return their monies at that time. So it's essentially the same type of a fee structure as we set up for wind. We thought it was best to keep some consistencies with regard to that. And as you probably do notice in B and C, there's no dollar amount there. It's a per project basis. I know we talked a little bit about this when we established the wind project. It really depends on the scale of the project, how much escrow we're going to need. So we really have to kind of get into it and see an application before we'll set that fee for you. But I think in the wind project, what we did was, we estimated, we got what we thought it was. They went ahead and applied, they got their paperwork into us, and then we brought you a resolution afterwards to establish that fee at that level. So that's really all I have. The fees are set up in a way that they will not incur additional costs on the county. We try to make sure that these are covering their large projects, lots of time, lots of money, lots of effort into them. We try to set up the fees so that we're not incurring any additional costs at the county level for this.
Have you heard of any projects coming or any interest expressed in such a projects?
Yeah, we've had a couple of conversations that people are out leasing ground, and there's talks that there's projects possibly coming to the county, pretty large scale projects.
Anybody else have any questions or comments on this item?
Just go ahead.
Go ahead, Terry.
I'm just saying, question, does it have to be a minimum of 160 acres?
No, it does not. They can go less than 160 acres, but our minimum cost is set at the $5,000.
Gotcha.
Tobin?
Yeah, thanks. Tim, I imagine these are taxed the way that wind turbines are taxed as industrial property.
I've been asking that question myself and trying to get those answers. I assume they are, but I have not. I know that there's some discussion about these, much like when we started the wind projects, there was discussion about how the taxation worked and how the depreciation worked on turbines and such. I haven't really formally got that answer, but I do believe it is an industrial personal property tax. And I mean, the difference between a solar farm and a wind farm is, a wind farm is about a ground area of 100, feet around it. A solar farm, the farm's gone, like they eat it all up. I mean, it's rows and rows of pilings with these systems set on top of it.
My other question, Tim, is our zoning and our fee structure, is this similar to what other counties around us have done? I know there's some big installations in Genesee and Saginaw. There's one up in Muskegon.
Yeah, I have talked to some of the other communities. I haven't talked to all of them. Some of them are charging only what they would charge for like their regular special use permit and site plan review of like $100, $200. And they're having all kinds of nightmares. They're incurring additional costs for attorneys to set up decommissioning and everything else. So I would say it doesn't appear that they are, but it appears that we're trying to sort of set that curve for others to be as consistent as we can with regard to all renewable energy resources, as well as, establishing that that non-additional extra cost to the taxpayers of the county to incur. So,
Okay.
I think the answer is no there, but we're doing it for that reason.
We're protecting ourselves financially. Yeah, that's good. Just a comment in the description in Article 2, might have to eventually take that word experimental out of there.
Yeah, no doubt.
So you're getting more and more common.
Yes, and indeed.
That's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Jim?
Tim, real quick, I know with the turbines, we also have an escrow, I believe, for decommissioning or when they get taken out. Is that correct? In case I don't see that. I don't see that here. Given their large footprint, if something like that should go wrong, are we going to do anything to have those removed?
Yeah, it actually happens, Jim, in the application process. So we have to establish a decommissioning agreement as well, but it's not part of the fee structure. It's part of an ordinance regulation. So when we created, like in the turbines, we have the exact same decommissioning language between the two. When we created that language in the, when we created the decommissioning agreement for the turbines, we established that there was a cost of about $27.4 million in a bond that is set with the county for the decommissioning, and that'll take place the exact same way for these.
Okay, so with this project, the one project was quite one entity doing the whole entire project. At that time it was Apex. With this one, it could be much smaller, multiple entities. So each entity have to have their own bond. Yeah.
Each entity will have to have their own permit, which will require each entity to have their own decommissioning and decommissioning agreement and bond.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you. Answered my question. Okay.
The conversations that we've had so far have been with basically two entities. I think they're competing in the same area. I don't know that there's going to be two projects necessarily, but they're competing in the same area, I believe. And we're talking 700 to 2,500 acre projects. So quite extensive projects. Again, that's not going to be an all contiguous type of a project. It's going to be sort of just like the turbines. There might be an 80 here and a 40 here and an 80 here, but the total project area that would be covered by solar would be in that 700 to 2,500 acre area, which 2,500 acres, you're talking 4 square miles of solar coverage within the county possibly. And that's on the high side, 2,500 acres, but that number was thrown at us.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. I got that report now. Thanks. Okay, well, if there isn't any other, I'll call to the public. Is there any public now?
There is no public at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Hold on, I haven't had a motion yet, Chairman.
Oh, right. Thank you. Okay, if there's no other comments or questions, thank you very much for your report. And I need a motion that item 4 there?
Sure. I make a motion to consider adopting the recommended application for escrow fees for special use permit and site plan review for solar farm.
Second, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. The ayes have it. The motion carries. The item will be forwarded to our regular and work session next week. Anybody else have anything to say or questions or comments at this time?
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks,
No,
Tim.
thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Tim. Thank you, Tim. Okay, now I'll call to the public.
There is no public at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, if that's the case, I will adjourn the meeting of the Human Resources and Public Works Committee. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.
See you guys later.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
What I do is I watch and make sure that the streaming is done.